The paradox of modern exhaustion. Have you ever noticed how you can wake up after 8 hours of sleep and still feel drained before the day even begins? You're not alone. Millions of people report having no energy, but the reasons aren't always physical. Sure, lack of sleep, poor diet, or too much caffeine play a role, but beneath the surface there's something deeper going on, a psychological exhaustion that robs us of vitality. This kind of tiredness is harder to name, but it's the kind that Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, spent much of his career exploring. Jung believed energy wasn't just a physical resource, it was also psychic. He used the term libido, not just to describe sexual drive as Freud did, but to represent the flow of psychological energy that animates our thoughts, passions, and sense of meaning. When that energy gets blocked, diverted, or wasted, we don't just feel a little tired, we feel hollow, joyless, and unable to engage with life. It's not simply fatigue, it's a signal that something inside us is out of alignment. This video explores why we lose energy from a Jungian perspective, and more importantly, how to get it back. We'll look at the shadow, the repressed parts of ourselves that sap our strength, the persona, the masks we wear that drain authenticity, and individuation, the process Jung believed could restore wholeness and vitality. Along the way, we'll also connect these ideas to modern issues like burnout, overstimulation, and mental health. If you've ever wondered why you feel empty no matter how much rest you get, Jung's framework may hold the missing piece. 1. Jung's concept of energy, libido beyond sex. When we hear the word libido, most people think sex drive. That was Freud's definition, but Jung took it further. For Jung, libido was psychic energy itself, the fuel that drives everything we do, working, loving, creating, even daydreaming. In his view, this energy is constantly shifting from one form to another, flowing into whatever captures our attention and desire. If you're deeply engaged in art, your libido channels into creativity. If you're obsessed with social validation, it flows into maintaining appearances. This understanding matters because it means fatigue isn't always physical, it's often about where your energy is going. You may feel tired not because your body lacks rest, but because your mind is funneling energy into conflicts, repressions, or meaningless pursuits. For example, someone hiding a part of themselves from the world might expend enormous amounts of psychic energy maintaining that disguise. The body feels it as exhaustion, even if physically they've done very little. Jung emphasized that energy seeks balance. If you overinvest in one area of life, say, work at the expense of relationships, your psyche eventually rebels. The energy stagnates, turning into symptoms like boredom, irritability, or depression. What looks like laziness on the surface is often energy withdrawal, a sign the psyche is conserving resources because they are not being used in meaningful ways. 2. The nature of psychic energy, flow, blockage, and stagnation. Jung compared psychic energy to water. It flows naturally when unobstructed, nourishing the psyche. But when blocked, it builds pressure or seeps away underground. This explains why people often feel bursts of vitality when they pursue authentic passions, and conversely, why they feel drained when living in denial or suppression. Blockages often appear as symptoms. For instance, someone repressing anger might feel constant fatigue. Why? Because holding anger down takes energy. It's like keeping a beach ball underwater. It consumes strength without producing anything useful. Jung argued that much of neurosis, anxiety, depression, obsessive habits is really misdirected energy, a life force trapped in the wrong place. Stagnation occurs when energy stops moving altogether. This is the feeling of deadness, apathy, or the grey fog many people describe in depression. Jung saw this not as a permanent state, but as a signal energy wants to shift direction. The psyche is waiting for us to realign, to let go of outdated roles, or to confront truths we've avoided. If we ignore these signs, exhaustion deepens. If we listen, the blockage can release, and energy begins to return. 3. The shadow and drained energy. One of Jung's most famous concepts is the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject, deny, or refuse to see. These could be impulses, emotions, or traits that we learned were unacceptable. Instead of integrating them, we push them down into the unconscious. But here's the catch: repression doesn't erase them, it just hides them. And hiding takes energy. Imagine someone who learned as a child that expressing anger was wrong. As an adult, they suppress every flicker of frustration, forcing a smile in situations that genuinely upset them. On the outside, they look calm. Inside, they're exhausted. Their psychic energy is consumed by the ongoing effort to hold that shadow part of themselves at bay. The result? Chronic fatigue, irritability, and even illness. Jung believed facing the shadow was essential for regaining vitality. Integrating the shadow doesn't mean acting out every dark impulse, it means acknowledging and giving it a place. When we own our anger, envy, or vulnerability, we stop wasting energy suppressing it. The reclaimed energy can then fuel creativity, passion, and authentic living. Many people feel an almost electric surge of life when they stop denying who they are and allow the fullness of their psyche to exist. 4. Persona versus true self, energy lost in masks and roles. Another way energy leaks is through the persona, the social mask we wear to fit in. Everyone needs a persona, it's how we function in society. But when the mask becomes the whole identity, we pay for it with vitality. Living as a role rather than as a self is draining because it requires constant performance. Think of the professional who's always confident at work, or the parent who feels they must be endlessly patient. While these roles serve a purpose, if they dominate completely, the individual loses touch with inner needs and emotions. Over time, psychic energy gets funneled into keeping the persona intact rather than nourishing the authentic self. The result is burnout and emptiness, even when outwardly successful. Jung warned against over-identification with the persona. True energy comes from alignment between inner life and outer expression. When who you are privately and who you are publicly diverge too far, the gap drains you. Energy returns when the mask softens, when people allow themselves to be seen as they truly are, not perfect roles, but whole human beings. 5. Individuation as energy recovery. For Jung, the ultimate path to restoring energy was individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating the unconscious with the conscious self. Individuation doesn't mean becoming perfect, but rather embracing all aspects of the psyche, shadow, persona, anima e animus, and more. This integration frees energy that was previously trapped in inner conflict. Picture your psyche like a household where each member is fighting for attention. If you silence half of them, you spend enormous energy keeping the peace. But if you invite them all to the table, the system stabilizes. Individuation is that process of inner reconciliation. It's not easy, it requires confronting uncomfortable truths, but the payoff is immense. Those who undergo individuation often report renewed vitality, creativity, and resilience. Energy flows back because the psyche is no longer wasting it on internal battles. Instead of being split into fragments, the self becomes aligned. Jung argued that meaning itself arises through individuation, and when life feels meaningful, energy naturally follows. 6. Dreams, symbols, and energy renewal. Jung believed that dreams and symbols are the language of the unconscious, offering clues about where our energy is stuck. Dreams often reveal hidden desires or conflicts, pointing to areas where psychic energy has pooled. For example, recurring dreams of being trapped might signal repressed potential or blocked creativity. Engaging with dreams isn't about fortune-telling, it's about listening to the psyche. Jung often had patients draw, paint, or write about their dreams, treating symbols as doorways to unconscious energy. This practice often sparked breakthroughs. The hidden parts of the self were acknowledged, and energy once bound in repression was released. Even outside therapy, paying attention to symbols can renew energy. Art, music, myths, and rituals all serve as containers for psychic energy, helping us process what words alone cannot. When we engage with symbols, whether in dreams or in culture, we reconnect with deeper currents of meaning. This connection itself is energizing because it roots us in something larger than our everyday persona. 7. Modern life and energy crisis. While Jung lived in the early 20th century, his ideas about energy apply even more today. Modern life constantly drains psychic energy, endless notifications, the pressure of social media personas, overwork, and disconnection from meaning. We're overstimulated yet undernourished, surrounded by noise but starved of depth. One major drain is the fragmentation of attention. Jung emphasized that psychic energy follows focus, but in an age of distraction, attention is constantly fractured. Each shift in focus consumes energy, leaving us exhausted even if we've done little of substance. It's not surprising that people feel burned out by simply keeping up. Another modern issue is alienation. Many people live disconnected from community, nature, and inner life. Jung argued that meaning is essential for psychic health, and without it, energy collapses. A person can meet every physical need, food, sleep, shelter, and still feel chronically tired if their life lacks purpose. This explains why burnout isn't just about workload, it's about working without meaning. 8. Practical Jungian strategies to regain energy. How do we get our energy back? Jung's ideas provide a roadmap. First, shadow work. Begin noticing what you reject in yourself. Journaling, therapy, or honest self-reflection can uncover these parts. The key is not to suppress them but to find constructive outlets, like channeling anger into assertiveness or envy into inspiration. Second, loosen the grip of the persona. Practice being authentic in small ways. Let people see your flaws, your doubts, your quirks. Every time you drop the mask, you conserve psychic energy that was previously spent on performance. Third, engage with dreams and symbols. Keep a dream journal, create art, or explore myths that resonate with you. These aren't just hobbies, they're methods of communicating with your unconscious. By listening, you align your inner and outer life, freeing blocked energy. Finally, prioritize meaning. Jung argued that energy follows meaning. Ask yourself, what activities feel alive? What relationships nourish me? Where do I feel dead inside? Shifting even small amounts of time toward meaningful pursuits can have a disproportionate impact on energy levels. 9. Integration with contemporary psychology and neuroscience. While Jung wrote nearly a century ago, modern science echoes many of his insights. Neuroscience shows that suppression of emotions increases stress responses, draining energy. Studies on ego depletion suggest that constant self-control exhausts mental resources, just as Jung said repression saps psychic energy. Research on authenticity also supports Jung. People who live authentically report higher well-being and vitality. Conversely, role strain, living mainly through social personas, is linked to burnout and depression. The science of attention further confirms Jung's view: scattered attention reduces mental energy, while flow states restore it. This integration shows Jung wasn't just philosophizing, he tapped into truths about how the mind works. His symbolic language, shadow, persona, individuation, parallels modern findings in psychology and brain science. Together, they point to the same conclusion: energy is as much psychological as it is physical, and alignment between self and meaning is the key to vitality. Conclusion: energy as the path to a meaningful life. If you feel like you have no energy, it's not just about sleep or diet, it's about where your psyche is leaking life force. Jung shows us that exhaustion often comes from repression, masks, and disconnection from meaning. The cure isn't found in quick fixes but in integration, facing the shadow, loosening the persona, listening to dreams, and pursuing individuation. Regaining energy means reclaiming yourself. It means letting go of the constant performance, embracing what you've denied, and living a life rooted in authenticity. Jung believed that when we live meaningfully, energy naturally flows. Tiredness fades not because we rest more, but because we stop wasting energy on inner wars and empty pursuits. In the end, energy is not just a resource, it's a measure of alignment. When who you are inside matches who you are outside, when your life reflects your deeper values, you don't just have energy, you become energy. And that is the beginning of a truly alive existence.